So that usually takes people 1.5 hours, and all the expenses that you have with the ferry and by car. So, but by ferry it takes, I think it costs, it was around $29. And when we calculated our costs per seat for that route, so it's around 30 kilometers, was $39 per person. So that's what we want to achieve. It's a shuttle where you actually, instead of 1.5 hour journey, you are there in 15 minutes, and just for $10 more.
$10 more for a great view.
Exactly.
A
Yes.
great view, and you're saving an hour and 15 minutes.
Exactly. And on the way back as well. So that means you're saving 3 hours of your lifetime and of your of your whole day by just being back home, spending, going, like to the restaurant, something. So that's the goal.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Founders Ascent. I'm joined here with my co-host BJ. I'm Gavin, and we have a special guest, Freshta Farzam. And so I'm very excited about this one because her company is LYTE Aviation. And so we have EV Aviation here. And so just Freshta, give us an introduction about yourself. Kind of how did you get started doing it? Because we know you didn't come from a background in aviation. So we want to sort of connect the dots here and understand how that happened. So tell us about yourself.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. That's true. My background is not in aviation, but I'm 42 years old now, and I remember today, basically, when once our project picked up, that actually I had a dream when I graduated from high school that I wanted to become a pilot. So the dream of aviation was there, but I never really dared to go to the interviews. So I guess throughout 20 years, I had to accumulate the courage to actually follow my dreams. So that's where I got now.
Okay, awesome. And I know, so you were talking about earlier how you're more of a spiritual person, how you manifested your success, and you also talked about the law of attraction. I don't know if you've read the book Think and Grow Rich, but
Yes.
Napoleon Hill mentions that in his book. And so can you sort of talk us through that as well? The law of attraction, how you've applied it to your career being CEO and founder of LYTE Aviation.
That's a great question, actually. And actually, that book, I have it here in my shelf when you mentioned it. So,
Yeah, it's a great one.
so it's no, it's the law of attraction. I had to understand what power is actually behind all our dreams. When I close my eyes, the images that I saw, the visions that I saw. So where's it coming from? What is it? And then listening to other people's stories. And then yes, I'm also a big fan of Abraham Hicks, for example. So working with energies, understanding law of attraction, and just keeping myself happy. And then I noticed once I really keep myself happy, the frequency was high. I actually attracted a lot of great people or moments or things just coming, just flying in. Okay, where does this come from? So it's slowly it gave me the confidence to really believe in it more and more. And when I was in Abu Dhabi, even the year before I announced my project, I got invited to Abu Dhabi, at their palace there, and I was like, "Okay, universe, this is amazing." So it's working. The law of attraction is working. The manifestation was working because I was not hustling in that way. I think the only hustle that I did was really mentally stabilizing everything and actually working with the law of attraction and understanding that. So everything else, like when I noticed the patterns, people coming to me, just out of nowhere, really from the airlines to the OEM manufacturers, they just crossed my path. Whether it was even during COVID, for example, I wouldn't go up, but still there was a lot of movement. I was like, okay, this is working, so I'm on the right path. So that's why my confidence raised, and where I am today is all based on just following my dreams. Yeah.
Great. And two, I also want to ask so are you doing something every morning right when you wake up or before bed? You're visualizing kind of what the next year is going to look like or what a certain step in the process is going to look like. Is that what you're doing specifically?
Great question. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I had to understand that there needs to be a consistency, and it's fun. It's not because it's a duty, because once it's a duty again, then I don't do it. But I was like, okay, why do I want to do it? So now it's like It's like a new kind of drug that I want to, like, once I wake up, there's no way that Freshta will wake up and jump off the bed. No, I'm like, for 1 or 2 hours, I'm really like taking my time to do my meditation and visualization. Yes. And I'm in a completely different world. And sometimes actually the other day I was writing a letter from the Freshter at the 80-year-old. So like looking back, so I'm playing with these things, and it's amazing that the visuals, the ideas then come during the day as well. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
And so, when you started doing, sort of following the law of attraction, doing these visualizations and starting that morning routine, how long after did you start LYTE Aviation, or what's the order of all of this?
Yeah, yeah. It was actually it's a magical story. So I haven't really shared it with a lot of people, but so the ideas came, puzzle pieces were coming together. I still wouldn't know at the beginning. I was actually drawing some aircrafts, like, and they were quite utopic, like even like without any wings. And it was like, okay, I want this. And then someone told me like, Freshta, no, but you're the visionary. You need someone, to explain to you, like, to get the experts. So the puzzle pieces were coming together, and suddenly I used to do like dragon boat paddling, for example, like it's in a group. I don't know if you know. So one day I'm just like turning around, and I'm in this. I like just the whole day I was like thinking, okay, I need an engineer. I need an aerospace engineer. Let's see. And then I'm going in the afternoon, like paddling, and right next to me, this girl that I know I think for almost 6 or 7 months, we're paddling together the whole time, and she's like, we get into conversation. She's telling me, "Oh, I'm an aerospace engineer." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" So okay, this is amazing. So they're okay. Let's meet up. I have these ideas. I have these visions. I have this and that. Just tell me, how does it sound? So yeah, so this was taking shape like that. Like every day, like when I got stuck with certain things, new ideas would come up, new people would come up. They would give me some other hints, and I think I learned to also like listen and watch. Clearly, like with 100% attention and consciously. So that's when I see little signs or some messages or whatever, and I connect the dots and it works. So even LYTE Aviation, it was interesting. I had a completely different name for LYTE Aviation, for the company, for the concept. So the aircraft was designed, everything was done. Then I had a pitch for an investor, and the night before, I was sitting at the pitch deck. I was like, okay, no, I have to change the name. So I changed the name. I changed the logo, everything. I think I ordered like one designer that I knew. I was like, okay, I need this and this logo. And then somehow, even the logo and the ring, like the circles that you see, they're like quite energetic as well. It's 8, and the 8 is like in a energetic number. It's like a very quite abundant energetic number, and then suddenly the V as well, like that actually sits for the lights. It's the connection to the earth and the light, the universal light. That was my goal, but then I saw it actually looks like a ram. And my horoscope, my sign, my zodiac sign is in Aries. So I was like, okay, you see, so everything was coming together. I was like, okay, somehow. So yeah, LYTE Aviation was exactly like that, like a magical journey so far. With the people that I have met from the engineers that have joined us to the press releases. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, it sounds extremely fortunate. Just right there next to you is exactly the person you need. And then tell us so I feel like there's 2 stories here, and I'm going to ask you to tell them both. Where we have the one story of the visualization, what you pictured and your expectations of what's happening, and then the actual story of what's occurring in the real world, and maybe those 2 converge a lot. But sort of from meeting that engineer and starting LYTE Aviation to now, where you guys have 800 million euros in pre-orders, which is like $870 million, which is, I'll round up, $1 billion.
Exactly.
Getting up there, what's that story? What does that journey look like?
That journey is also like I just knew I was writing my I tell you a little secret. The beginning of 2023, before I have announced our project, so everything was quite behind stages, like behind stage, like very like offline. So no one knew about it, so it was not public. And the beginning of 2023, someone actually told me, Freshta, how about you actually visualize how the end of the year will look like. How you're going to thank your customers, how you're going to thank your partners and your investors and everything. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. So that's when I got into that feeling. How's it going to look like? What's my goal for that year? And I was like, okay, I want LYTE Aviation to, yes, be embraced and show great resonance and have the customers. And that's what happened. Like slowly, like I met one person to the other person, and then through some random, really conversations like that appeared randomly. Um, that's when I got introduced to Viman Aviation Services in India. When I connected with him, he's such a hard person. Like he has such a big heart, like so visionary. And I was like, oh my, that's amazing. I don't even have to explain him that much. So I was like, okay, this is great. And then just before November, we got the first 10 pre-orders. He's like, Freshta, we want to have 10 aircrafts because we know this is coming and it's happening. And I want to be the first ones in India to actually have the Skybus. I was like, oh, the universe, this is really easy. This is good. This is happening. So, and now recently as well, like we had the next 10 pre-orders coming up for Korea and for US, and we still, I mean, we're all having other communication or conversations with potential customers as well. That's why I think I'm more laid back now because I see it's working. So there are some days where I do get like, okay, a bit wacky. Like I'm like, okay, what is it that? So my frequency, and that's where I just go for a walk. I don't even think, so I let go of everything. So yeah.
And with those pre-orders, is an aspect of that like handing over like a deposit or some sum of money initially, or is it the promise of paying when they do come out just because they're excited?
Yes, exactly. So there, yes, that's basically what we're at this stage. It's the collaboration as well. So it's not just that they're our customers, but also like setting up the infrastructure, the customers in the future as well for India, for example. So we're also there in talks with certain parties to actually, because until we get actually into serial production and into operations within 5 to 6 years, that means we need to now use the time to actually establish the groundworks for that.
Right. So in some sense, they're getting you'll build the aircraft to sort of their needs, and they'll sort of be the first use case.
Yeah, well, no, it's the other way around. I
Oh,
created an aircraft to the needs of the vision that I had,
okay,
but I
okay.
knew that there is a, yeah, that there is a niche, or that there is a pain point in the market. And that's when they, the right customers or the people that are actually seeing in the aviation industry that this is something we need. Like, for example, Caribbean, the Bahamas, they were actually very interested in it because from the day one, because they're 98% of their islands are not inhibited. So they're like, Freshta, we could not solve it until now we see your Skybus. That would make sense because it's mass transit. People can actually shuttle over to, let's say, Nassau, come back, and that's when we can actually inhibit other islands. Because before, of course, with other aircrafts, you need the runway. I don't need a runway
Yeah.
for my aircraft, so I just need 40 meter by 40 meter, and I can land anywhere. So that's when even our own use cases that we had on our list before our publication, we had to adjust it because the resonance for island hopping, for regional aviation, etc., was much larger than we had expected, and for logistics. So yeah, so
Yeah, that's interesting. So, how was it trying to find this product market fit, especially when you're sort of going based on an idea, not something tangible to begin with? So, how are you finding these people? Are you just getting a bunch of people to sort of buy into this vision that you have and sort of collaborate with you in this process of developing these?
how do I get them? Ask again, please.
So, sort of, how are you like finding this product market fit?
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh,
to
I,
get all these people to buy in on your idea? Like, where are you finding them? Who do you think your target audience is?
well, because you guys are speaking my language, so like you said, it's two worlds that I'm combining. So it's like part of that is, or the major part of it is that I knew what I'm creating. So of course, we studied the technologies. We studied the air taxis. Those 3 4 years, those 3 years approximately before we announced it, we studied
Yeah.
the technologies that are on the market, researched like the business models, what's the concept behind it, etc. To understand what's going on there. So, and that's when I was connecting the dots. And then I heard also like Naveen Jain like saying a sentence like, the as a non-expert, you're one of the best disruptors, and that's what actually
Yeah.
took my fear off my shoulders. I was like, okay, this is true. It's actually yes, and there are no failures. It's all an experiment. I was like, you know what, I. I always wanted to scale up other people's companies, but yeah, I think it's time to do it for myself and just jump on the horse. So back to your question, yes, I knew what I'm doing, and to be honest, I never asked anyone for feedback. What do you think of it? Because that kind of validation question was not mine anymore. So I got out of that concept. So I was like, I know it, I feel it, I see what I have on the table now. And the only thing I needed to make sure was like to have my engineers working out the concept report. Of over 200 pages to make sure that this really is feasible and is realistic. And that's when I got out there. So the only thing I did was not ask for validation, but to actually say, this is who I am, this is what I have.
Wow.
Where do you see us collaborating? That's it.
Yeah,
So
I
that,
feel like that's very different from what we normally hear. It's like, yeah, the person's gonna kind of work out in the public eye and get as much feedback as they can to validate the idea before they actually go out and create it. And so this is kind of interesting too. And so you're a stealth mode startup. You did a lot of the research and development kind of behind the scenes first, like what you were talking about. What do you think the major benefits to that are? Is it more like intellectual property? What are the positives for this
I
stealth
think
mode startup idea?
I think for me personally, it was just to increase my confidence to 100%, where I just know where I'm going. Because if I
Okay.
came out like a year, like the first year, I would have, if, yeah, probably if I came out and someone would have said something, it would have just made me like a bit like, okay, I don't know, maybe it's the wrong way, maybe it's this, maybe I have to double check the technology, maybe I should do this.
Hmm.
So I guess I just wanted to, for myself to make sure that this is like a complete package for me to understand and then go out with the 100% confidence. So again, it's a mental thing as well, like that we need to work on. Anyone that actually wants to do follow their dreams, yeah.
I think this is quite a shift from some of the previous guests we have on. A lot of the people we've recently talked to, it's all been about like iteration and okay, I'll try this. This
Yeah.
didn't work for this audience. Well, for you, trying this means the airplane blows up, right? Trying this is just too expensive for you to be asking feedback, and so you're just trying to build something that has such massive, massive benefit, where the cost doesn't really matter because no matter what, it's worth it. And so whatever it takes to get there, we need to do that.
Exactly. Exactly. And the thing is, definitely we will have a lot of, I mean, we're still having a lot of iterations ahead of us. So when it comes to technology, but I think it's again keeping the balance between where do I want to go. So I had to learn also throughout my own personal life the sharp focus. So I really, for the last 3 4 years, that's when at the end of last year, actually noticed, okay, I was like, Freshta, actually, the last 4 years, you haven't been really living, enjoying life because that was my sharp focus. This is something that I created and I'm here and I'm not doing a lot more things than just really, I'm eating, breathing, drinking LYTE Aviation. So that was a sharp focus and it worked out. So, and now I see like, throughout the last few months, especially, we have more people joining our team and we're collaborating. So I'm like, okay, this is actually also another shift for me. It's another iteration to, okay, so far it has been a smaller team. Fresh is doing a lot of it, but now I'm also yeah, iterating basically my own concept to move forward in another style. Yeah.
And so where do you see it moving forward? Is this to replace like commercial jets and commercial airlines, or is it more replacing a lot of the helicopters, replacing like in-city transits? Is this replacing the ski lifts to go on top of mountains? Because it's super interesting, but I've I can see there's a value to it. I'm trying to figure out, okay, where will we see that value in the next, I don't know, 10 years or something?
Very good question. Yeah, it's actually that's a good thing, or the interesting part of our journey, that my aim is to disrupt mass transit, so to make it more faster and more frequently, so just to move more masses of people and goods from point A to B. So that's the vision, or that's the idea behind all of that. And what happens is, by doing that, you're normally, like, you're naturally disrupting buses, trains, regional aviation, especially because the range that we have of up to 1,000 kilometer, and helicopters, and the UAM. So it's the ferries, and then we have the those are the mass transit, and then the logistics industry as well. So the goods, where you can actually take off right in front of your warehouse, take off with our sky track with 4.5 tons and just land at your customer's doorstep. So these things are happening now with our. So I think we have. That's why I had to stay agile, and my mindset as well, to any resonance that we received as well, like from our potential customers that we have on our agenda, basically, that to go with it. So whether it's like the helicopter operator, or whether it's like the business aviation market. So that's why now we have extended it to the 19-seater, for the business aviation sector, because we saw the resonance in there as well. So when we spoke to Brazil, for example, it's like they're used to helicopters going point to point, but 19-seater would be an interesting market for them, which hasn't been really used yet. I mean, it hasn't been there yet. So that's why we have actually left all the channels open, all the field open, and we're going along with that.
So I kind of want to learn more about you being a disruptor and less knowledgeable than other people in your field. How do you think that came to your benefit? Were you just looking at the state of aviation and sort of transportation, and it's like, you know, I think this would be a really cool idea. Whereas if somebody really specialized in aviation would have looked at that and been like, yeah, that's cool, but it's going to be very difficult to do. So you weren't necessarily maybe thinking about the difficulty in the beginning. You were just thinking about, this is a really cool idea. Now, what am I going to do to bring it to light? Was
Exactly.
that more of what was happening?
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. That was it for me. I guess the mindset is just, okay. There is something. I mean, what caught my attention, of course, was the air taxis, and then the business model that really caught my attention. That's when I was like starting to think, why is there no 20-seater? Why is everyone talking about a 1 or 2-seater? Why? I mean, it's amazing, but why? What's the problem there? And I was looking for the solution, yes. And that's why, thank God, I'm not an expert in aviation. So maybe even thank God I was not becoming a pilot back then, to not enter the aviation industry, because I I I'm just really coming with a very naive mindset to approach it, and I think that's how we should approach any of our projects, like a bit of like a childlike mentality. So that's when I mean, I heard, that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, it was important to raise my confidence, to know what I'm doing, and once I knew it, so people would, of course, they would. Some would tell me, "But Freshta, do you know aviation, this is one of the most highly regulated industries. What are you doing?" Like, you, I was like, yeah, I know. And that's the fun part of it, because I know, like, over 50, 60 years, it has been very beautiful, very like increasing and beautiful, but it was stagnant. So now the last decade, all doors are open for, look at all the 400, 500 eVTOLs that you have out there. It's triggering something in people, is the dream of flying, is the dream of having wings, whatever it is. But I have it too, and I just want to scale it up. So, and combine it with the green hydrogen. So that's where the sector I was in before, the green hydrogen, like the upstream market, like actually producing green hydrogen. So that's why I know, like, there's a great combination here when it comes also to sustainability. So that's where I'm also connecting the dots.
And in terms of like technical challenges, you're doing something that has not existed ever before, which is amazing. But to bring that into real life, what are sort of the main technical things that you're having to keep track of to make this happen? Because everyone wants it, everyone wants to fly, but Why can't we yet?
Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm trying to expedite that process from now basically, but I know we will. And the challenges, of course. What we're doing is tilt wing. We have a tandem tilt wing. So in that constellation, no, it has never been done before. In that weight, no, it has never been done before. But tilt wing in itself, if you look at that puzzle piece, yeah, it has been done before with the Hillary X-18 in the military, or now with Dufour Aerospace. They're all, even Sikorsky now just announced the tilt wing. I was like, okay, amazing, good. That's like, those are the proof of concepts that we is like, again, like that's the path we're going. And but they have different business cases, so that's why it's fine. But they're going for that technology, and so it's the puzzle pieces, and also hydrogen. Like we're using the turboprops and the electric engines. So the electric engines run on the fuel cells and hydrogen. There are enough successful companies out there now that are flying on hydrogen now, so which is amazing. So that's the combinations that we're trying to like see, like, okay, it's working, so we're just now putting the right puzzle pieces together.
Okay, so a lot of technical terms got thrown there. I'm
Sorry.
no, it's great. No, but I just want to make sure that everyone understands this. So there's the one aspect of the hydrogen cells, which are the lightweight green fuel choice that we're able to
Right.
use to power. We definitely need to get people a picture of your aircraft, because I think it will make more sense to them. But your aircraft has 2 sets of wings on either side, and then has the engines on each one. And because of that, you're able to tilt wing. Is the term
Yeah.
for that?
Yes. It tilts from vertical to horizontal and horizontal
Right.
to vertical back.
And so because of that, combining those 2 technologies, you're able to create aircraft that's able to carry a lot more people and be sort of more like agile through like buildings in the helicopter use case, or island to island trees.
Yes, exactly. But the main difference here is that we can actually take off like a helicopter vertically. So that's what a lot we're struggling with, because a lot of air taxis are focusing on battery electric. So battery technology is amazing, but they cannot carry that much weight. So of course, that's when we understood that's why they cannot really go with the 40 passengers. But I want the 40 passenger taking off vertically. How do we do it? And that's when we had to go with the hybrid hydrogen combination. So because there's no way I could go fully hydrogen or fully electric. No one can take off today with today's technology, 30 or 40 people vertically. So that's what I wanted to achieve. And that's why we took it's, I guess, again, like it's even in this scenario, it's like bridging the gap between 2 worlds. So you're having the world of the existing technologies and existing the kerosene or the turboprops, then you're bridging the gap also here in the aircraft, to have the other 4 electric engines with the hydrogen, which not a lot of in the industry have the experience with, but they're starting to, and it's working. So that's what I'm doing here as well. Because in the future, the vision that I have is that the Skybus is the new normal. The Skytruck is the new normal. That at some point maybe you don't even have to like lay any roads anymore. So it's really like disrupting infrastructure, and you keep actually like areas like in Canada, for example, or Norway. You have all these inaccessible coastlines, but you have in Brazil or Canada, for example, you have all the forests. If you can actually create that kind of roads where in the air, where you avoid deforestation in the long run, that's what I'm looking toward.
Yeah. So also with what like I'm kind of interested in hearing about what your perspective of the future is going to look like, because with regards to noise pollution and whatnot, like if there's a bunch of these flying around the city, my assumption is it would be very noisy. Air traffic control is probably going to have to be extremely good, so you don't have a bunch of them hitting each other if this is a main transportation in the future. So kind of like what are all the parts going to look like within this very complicated system of
That
transporting
yeah.
in the air, right?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question, because it is true. Yes, I mean we have to be honest and fair that our aircraft at this stage, yeah, we're using the turboprops. It's not for the urban air mobility in the sense that you need to have it fly like 100 times back and forth. No, but that's why we have the range of up to 1,000 kilometers. But you can take off in the city. So and then you're just taking out like flying outside. So that's what makes sense for us. But in the long run, imagine we have the eight electric engines, so we are more silent. When we go fully hydrogen, when technology advances, that's when yes, you can actually have a heavy weight aircraft, the Skybus, our Skybus, with much less noise pollution. And then I would see it very realistically also in the city. But with this at this stage, that's why all the focus on our customers that we're having right now as well is as far as we can remote or start in the city, but somehow connected to another city to have a lot of that transport basically, outside the city because to reduce the noise pollution. But again, if we compare it to helicopters, and if you look at the Brazilian market, you have a lot of helicopters, but they're very loud. So we're like at least like 10 times less in noise pollution, but also 5 times more fuel efficient than a helicopter. So that's when it does make sense, for example, in areas when you talk about helicopters for the oil and gas, the offshore market. So that's where, yeah, that's where it would make sense.
One of the things that just popped into my head were like, I'm from Houston, but I'm living in Dallas right now. And for a long time, a lot of people talked about getting some like high speed train between Houston and Dallas, where you could get between the two in like 45 minutes or something like that. But the issue has always been land, and they can't buy up enough land in a straight line to make that make sense. But if there was if LYTE Aviation had their 40 passenger things running between Houston and Dallas, that could be very, very cool to see.
Exactly. Very good. Yes, that could be a business case, for example, that would benefit like a lot more parties that we can actually like see in this small picture because it's the entire ecosystem that would benefit from that. Yeah, definitely. Great point.
It,
Yeah, and I wonder, like, so where would they wouldn't necessarily be, or would they be taking off from airports, or just any private place that has land? Like, what would that look like too?
Yeah, theoretically, yes. So it's of course it depends on the regulations as well, like how far they will accommodate. But the idea or the vision is actually that the collaborations as well that we're in talks with is to combine existing airports with vertiports. So basically, you're creating completely new routes. So again, you're taking something that exists is the airports, and you're taking and they have the jet fuel, the refueling stations as well, and then you create new routes somewhere maybe in the rural area which is untouched. So that's when you can just set up a vertiport where it makes sense to be a hub. And the other thing is we're collaborating as well with the air taxis because when we come with the 40 passengers, that's when we actually the air taxis can take over the last mile for our 40 passengers. That's where you can actually create some nice hubs for people to commute, or even goods. So if it's a goods transportation, you can create those routes. So it's really like I see like creating new neurons, and not only in my brain but also on the planet, like with new routes. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like BJ, so I think you wouldn't want to compete against an airline like from Dallas to Houston, but what you would want to do is you would just go into an entirely different market as a whole. You'd pivot and you like the vertiport, is that's what it's called? And you do something that an airline can't do
right.
with their products, right? With their planes. So like with the Caribbean, right? You pivot, you do something like that. They can't compete with you. You're going to take the entire market share for that area. Um,
Well, keep in mind, please, that we're OEM manufacturer. So that means the airlines, we're not taking away anything from the airlines. We're actually extending their business. Even the ferry operators, I'm
True.
exactly. exactly. So even the ferry operators, we talked to some of them. I was like, I just want to make sure that you understand that we are not here to take your market away, because if we extend the ferry
True.
routes,
Yeah.
for example, like this Seattle pilot project that we have, it's like, see how you can actually become an operator for our Skybus. That's when you can take over routes. So
Okay.
So,
we're actually generating business for others. Yeah.
so Gavin and I could buy one of these and just run constant routes from Dallas to Houston,
Yeah, exactly.
just
Yes.
ourselves. In
Yes.
terms,
Yeah.
in terms of a lot of the regulation stuff, how far along are those discussions? What are those sort of opinions on this?
Well, that's why I'm really grateful to the air taxis that they have been in the market the last decade. So I see that they have opened up a lot of pathways for us. If I came like 10 years ago with the Skybus, with the 40-seat eVTOL, it would have been much, much harder, I assume. But I think today there's a lot of movement towards like the FAA, very active, the EASA, very active, even the UAE. So we're like in talks with several of them. But it's amazing to see like that everyone is understanding that it's happening, it's unavoidable, it's happening, and it's inevitable. So and that's when people are now industries, even company, any company, countries, cities, they're trying to really see how they can actually be part of it actively. So that's why I'm very confident there as well that that's not going to be a problem even for our Skybus.
Right. And in terms of who can fly these, are we expecting just the typical anyone who could fly any plane with whatever license they need in that country would be able to fly this?
It's a 40-seater, so well, it's a regional aircraft size basically. So yeah, any pilot that can fly that, but they would probably have to have an extension in their license because of the tilt wing, etc.
Right, right.
But yeah, but the airlines, yes, theoretically, they could actually the routes that they know would benefit them from the market demand. Then definitely they could take over that. Yeah.
And in terms of like the security aspect, is it going to be similar to the plane with the doors locked from the pilot's quarters and does the
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Well, that's. I mean, the vision is to really keep it as simple as possible because even I mean we haven't disclosed our interior designs yet, but I know
okay,
like the sky. But no, what I can tell you, for example, is that the sky bus itself, the interior design, is is done in a way that it's very simplified, like really like as if you're actually taking the bus into the sky. So very simple. You don't have any baggage space or anything. So it should be really, really simple. And of course, then you have the premium class. So that's like an aircraft, but you have more space with the 19-seater. That's different. But the shuttle bus, yeah, it's just really like, so if the interior is that simple, in the same way we're targeting the whole concept to be as simple as well, because it should be a shuttle where if you want to go to work and take the sky bus, you shouldn't have to go to all the securities like you do in the airport, for example, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we're in talks with certain airports currently as well to see how we can actually set up a pilot project. How would it look like at a vertiport to just hop on to the Skybus, or the air taxi or whatever, like to really make it as simple as possible and to just land right at the campus of your employee of your work or something. So that's the idea, and that's why we have to somehow create those pilot projects focused on as little as complications as possible.
Okay. One thing about taking it every day, though, is it going to be cheap enough to allow people to take it every day, or?
Good question. Yeah, that's yes, definitely. That's that's something that is very dear to my heart to make sure that it's affordable, that it makes sense. So that's why when we calculated, especially for the Seattle pilot project, so the route from Bainbridge Island, which is a residential area, as you probably know, and to over Seattle, you land at, let's say, Redmond, the headquarters of Microsoft. That route, you usually take the ferry to Seattle, and then you take the car to Redmond. So that usually takes people 1.5 hours, and all the expenses that you have with the ferry and by car. So, but by ferry, it takes, I think it costs, it was around $29. And when we calculated our costs per seat for that route, so it's around 30 kilometers, was $39 per person. So that's what we want to achieve. It's a shuttle where you actually, instead of 1.5 hour journey, you are there in 15 minutes, and just for $10 more.
$10 more for a great view.
Exactly. Yes.
A great view, and you're saving an hour and 15 minutes.
Exactly, and on the way back as well. So that means you're saving 3 hours of your lifetime and of your whole day by just being back home, spending, going, like to the restaurant, something. So that's the goal.
That's
Okay, I think I could
massive.
see a lot of people willing to do that, willing to pay, an extra $20 to save that much time out of their day, up to 3 hours. That sounds like a good deal to me.
And it was important for us to make sure that it is feasible. So those are like the calculations that we have done so far. Of course, like if you look at the longer routes, it's a bit different. But this is like something where we could see it for the urban scenarios, for example, what we discussed earlier. So that would make sense. So then you have like really like maybe 10 times flying back and forth, and you have a shuttle where you can count on, and yeah, you can live anywhere you want, and you're back.
Yeah, and then though too with like touristy areas, like let's say a bunch of people get off a cruise ship and they could travel pretty far away to do an excursion, do that and then take the bus back.
Beautiful.
So they could
Yes.
get really far away
Yes. 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 Beautiful. Yeah. Exactly.
in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
So that sounds really cool.
It's amazing. Yes. Exactly. I love it. Yes. That's yes. That's why you're connecting. Yes. The right dots here. Yeah. We had a similar scenario, like also for Japan, for example, like in some resorts in the mountains where they actually have a shuttle, of course, on the ground, taking the tourists, like to from point A to B, but it takes 1.5 hours or 2 hours or something. So of course, our Skybus makes more sense.
It makes way
Issues
more
with the
sense.
climate, so that's why it's hitting a nerve, yeah.
Okay.
And that's why you can see why I'm so open for different use cases, because
Yeah.
that's the fun part of it. So yeah.
I've added to my bucket list buying one of these.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know what business I'm going to get into, but I need an excuse to buy one of these.
Well, I definitely need to make sure that you guys are on the first flight then, yeah.
Ooh, I would love that. That's
Well,
amazing.
BJ, we're gonna be there.
Yeah.
What is it, 5 to 6 years?
Exactly.
Okay.
We can make that happen. That's awesome. So we're almost out of time, so I think we have to hop into the rapid fire round. But and so the rapid fire round is just 6 questions. We ask every guest, and we try to answer them in like less than 30 seconds. Very loose guideline.
Okay.
And so the first question is, how much sleep do you get?
Oh, currently it's better. It's good. It's 6-7 hours.
Nice.
Okay, what's your favorite book and why?
Oh, Rumi. You probably know the poet. So it's the love and the mystical love and the depth of, I guess, the unconditional love. That's why I have a little story there. So yeah.
Awesome. What would be your top piece of advice for young people?
Oh, just close your eyes and whatever you dream, just really just go for it. It's possible. It's really freaking possible. It's there. Yeah.
What's most important to you in life?
um, it's probably sounds cheesy, but it's love. It's really like love. Like right now, when I look at your faces and I see you guys, this is love. This is what makes my heart beat, and that's why yeah. It's creation, co-creation. I mean, through that, I'm co-creating with wonderful people. So I guess that's yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. If you could change anything about the world, what would it be?
Oh, good question. What would it be? I think it's just first the mindset of people, but really to embrace more the courage or the talents that they have. And I think a lot of people are not seeing how many jewels they have. So I was just telling a friend of mine the other day, I was like, actually, on this journey with LYTE Aviation, I want to get people that work with me or for me to find their hidden jewels. So I think it's the hidden jewels to bring them out. So yeah.
It's perfect.
How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, I have goosebumps right now when you ask me that. That's a beautiful question. Thank you. I guess it's yeah, someone that connected a lot of hearts, like a lot of people. Gave them courage to live their own dreams and have their own wings. So yeah.
I think that's just a phenomenal place to leave off because so much of what you do is just connecting people and inspiring them with this amazing vision you have for the future and just being courageous enough to realize that this is something that the world would love to have and okay, then what do we need to do to make it happen? And you're the one actually taking steps to make something like that happen. So thank you so much for that. I'm excited for the future because of this. And I just can't wait to see what happens. I'm so excited. So thank you for coming on and sharing your
Thank,
story.
thank you so much for inviting me. That's beautiful. It was really beautiful session with you guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, we would love to reconnect and do this another time when some massive achievement has been made by LYTE Aviation. Already you've
Sure.
done massive stuff, nearly $1 billion in pre-orders. That is phenomenal, and
Thank you.
thank you.
Sure, sure. I'm always open for that. So as you can see, this is something that is fun, and I'm happy to I think inspiration only comes when you actually have something that you had the courage to do it. You're just showing it. I cannot teach or inspire people, but just telling them, okay, just do it. No, it's just really, I think maybe at some point I had to do it. So, and I'm happy to see you guys also being inspired to invite me. So I appreciate that truly.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing. Thank you. Uh,
Thank you.
Everyone who's watching, thank you for sticking around and listening to all of this. I'm sure you were just as excited and inspired by this. Be sure to subscribe so you can catch the next time we talk. And we will see you next week, Tuesday at noon. Don't be late.